Good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to our council meeting this morning. Welcome to all members of council that are joining us this morning, to our staff that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of the Corporation of ACW and our residents. Welcome also to members of the public that are joining us this morning and the media. I would like to indicate that meetings of council are live streamed on the township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. By attending this meeting, attendees and participants are consenting to their image, voice, and comments being recorded and available for public viewing on the township's website. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to indicate at this time of any agenda item that we have today? Okay, thank you for that. I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of the May 7th council meeting minutes, please. That is moved by Councillor Hickey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the May 7th, 2024 council meeting minutes as written. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to this on our agenda item from 5.1 on. Or is there any members of the public that would like to make any comments at this time? And seeing none, I thank you for that. Maybe move on to Treasurer Patrick.
I think so.
Yeah. So Patrick Huber Kidby is going to be joining us momentarily. However, in his absence, we'll move on to the Treasury, and 6.1 will be the first item, and that is the payment of the current accounts. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Miltenberg moves, Councillor Forrester seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby authorizes the payment of the May 2024 accounts as presented. Are there any questions on any of these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.2 is the payment of the previous month's accounts, and a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Hickey moves, Councillor Miltenberg seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves the payment of the April 2024 accounts in the amount of $1,025,097.02. Are there any questions on any of these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. The summary revenue / expenditure reports is for the township, the Lucknow and District Medical Center, and Lucknow and District Recreation from January to April of 2024. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Forrester seconds. Is there any questions on these minutes or on these numbers? If none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.4 is the school tax assessment update. It is for information purposes. Do any members of council have any questions on this? And I'm going to go first to Deputy Mayor Vanstone, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know who to direct this question to, but where do we stand right now have they put this form in? When I read this over, I didn't understand how far we were along on this process of getting their taxes done. Where are they? Have they abandoned it, or who is it that I would answer that question?
Well, thank you for the question. Our staff will respond to that, please.
So yes, a tax application was filed in November, and it was reviewed by MPAC, and the decision has been made by MPAC as summarized in the report. So there's no changes based on the application that was filed.
Yep, Deputy Mayor, follow up, please.
Yeah. So is there any way that they can get this changed? If there is, like, the impact says they can't, right? But
Thanks for the question. Treasurer, please.
Yeah, so in the report, there's a list of requirements that must be met according to the Assessment Act. And currently the schools as applied do not meet the first requirement, which is to be solely owned and occupied by the church or school.
And I'm sorry, I'm not making myself clear, but anyways, I guess with those things there, has anybody, I guess, gone back to the Amish people and asked them if they're going to proceed with this and try to get that changed over, or where does it sit? That's mainly my question.
Okay, thank you for that. Treasurer, please.
So MPAC, representatives from MPAC have been in contact with the legal representative from the Amish property owners in the schoolhouses, and they have communicated the requirements. And my understanding is that it is now in the hands of the property owners to determine how they'd like to move forward.
Okay, that's my
Great.
understanding also.
Thank you very much for that. That's mainly what I wanted to ask, but it was a long way around for a shortcut. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions, comments, and that's for information purposes, and thank you for that, Ellen. The planning department has brought forward 7-1, and that is the Salford Estates Development Agreement. Are there any questions on this? And if not, I'm going to ask for a show of hands if we would consider adopting this in section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Under the, again, the building department, the chief building officials report. Brett has prepared this. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions on this? Okay, thank you very much. And thank you very much for this great work, Brett, and your team. Administration Department is a bylaw enforcement report that has been circulated in our information. Is there any questions on this? It is for information purposes. Seeing none, I thank you. 9-2 is a leave of absence for Councillor Snoblin. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the following motion that would read that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council authorize a leave of absence for Councillor Anita Snoblin for personal family matters, and further that this leave of absence be open-ended. A mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Miltenberg moves. Councillor Forrester seconds. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We have the water report under Veolia, and that is again for information purposes. Is there any questions on this report? Seeing none, the drainage report. This is for the Smith Municipal Drain, and it's a notice of request for drain major improvement. And there has been a drain improvement submitted on the 13th of May, and it would curtail the following motion that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Council hereby accepts a notice of request for major drain improvement submitted by Kathy Drennan at Concession 7 West, Part Lot 18, Wawanosh, to improve the Smith Municipal Drain under 78 of the Drainage Act, and further that the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority be advised of council's intention to appoint an engineer to examine the area requiring improvement. A mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Miltenberg moves. Councillor Forrester seconds. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Under Public Works is the Enbridge franchise agreement. And we have all read that and the request, the need, and there is a need for natural gas in ACW. And I will ask if council is in support of this, we will consider adopting this in section 18 as a bylaw. Show of hands, please. And that is supported. Thank you. Oh, yes, yeah. And the following motion would be that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves the form of draft bylaw and franchise agreement attached hereto and authorizes the submission thereto to the Ontario Energy Board for approval pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Municipal Franchises Act. And further that council requests the Ontario Energy Board make an order declaring and directing that the assent of the municipal electors to the attached draft bylaw and franchise agreement pertaining to the corporation of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh is not necessary pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 and brackets 4 of the Municipal Franchises Act. A mover and a seconder for these, please. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves. Councillor Miltenberg seconds. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Committee reports. Do any members of council have any committee reports that they would like to share at this time? And I'll go first to Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Thank you. On behalf of the ECDev board, I attended the Thrive Summit, which was on May 14th and 15th at the Blythe Memorial Hall. It was put on by the Huron County Economic Development, or Huron County anyway, and the Economic Development Committee ran it. And I'm happy to report that 3 other members of the ECDev, of ACW's ECDev committee were there through their work, so that like they work for FCC and well, one was with Huron County. Anyway, so that it wasn't just me trying to gather all the ideas, and I would say it was spectacular. They talked about not farm transitions, business transitions. And they talked about the silver surge and how a very large percentage of our small business owners don't have a transition plan in place. And it's going to be a real problem if we don't figure out who's going to take over the businesses, because they're all going to disappear, right? So they're working on that. They had a speaker on the power of AI, and that was simultaneously really interesting and truly frightening. And I hope someone younger than me figures that all out. But wow, the stuff she was doing was impressive and frightening. They also had what was the good part? Oh, the next day they had someone who did placemaking who was in Aurelia, and just some real spectacular ideas I think we can use around this area. Mark Nonkus from the county talked on immigration. And then they had, I don't know, I'm calling it the Farmer Phil segment. It was about building things, and he had built a barn minimum or something like that. And the challenges with it, and how everybody had to roll. And then they had some local builders, and Denise from the county planner was there. And it was really good. Every municipality was invited to share their success stories. So Kelly had made some great slides, which was interesting because the person running the slides was behind the black screen, and I was on stage and I couldn't read them. So fortunately, I made them up as I went and said they would be available later. I'm hoping they could read them, but I knew what the gist of them was. So it was exciting that way too. But I did talk to Rick Sickinger because it's May and it was 2 days in a row, and this is a late corn planting season, as most of the farmers know, and it was very difficult to go to. And I probably would not volunteer next year just because of the timing. And he said that they actually had a lot of comments about having it in May in a rural area. So they're going to try to bump it back to April, but it's excellent, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Thank you for that, Councillor Miltenberg. And I echo your comments. I was only there for the opening comments in the first day, and then I had other commitments. However, well attended, they sold out, and very, very beneficial. Glad you're in attendance. Great to see Kelly there also, and our other members of our committee. Any other committee reports of anyone? I would like to share a couple. I was invited to attend the Ashfield-Colborne Lakefront Association Cottagers meeting probably 2 weeks ago, and Roger Watt chaired it, and it was a great meeting to exchange communication. And the Cottagers Association, I would suggest, is very appreciative of what ACW Council and our staff are doing to accommodate their needs. And there was also a Amberley Beach meeting on Sunday past that I also attended, and again, it was the same sentiment. And I'd like to suggest that we as council and our staff have really built some relationships with the cottagers and improved the relationships to what they were years ago. And communication is a large part of that. I also attended, on another note, an event at Huron Hospice 2 weeks ago, and they received the first music award that was offered in Canada for what they're doing with music for their residents in their final days. And it was extremely well appreciated by everyone involved with that. I also last week attended a Great Lakes conference in Montreal, and it was a very interesting and amazing to me how that there is such interest on both sides of the borders for the respect of the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence Seaway, the amount of business that is done. There were probably at least 40% of those in attendance were from the US, and the mayor of Chicago was there with his entourage, and it was we're all on the same page as far as protecting the great asset that we have with the Great Lakes and how valuable it is to us from an environmental standpoint and also from a commerce standpoint. So that was well attended. Under 14, new business, is there anything that anyone would like to bring forward for a future meeting at this time? Seeing none, we have no correspondence for direction. There are 3 items for information. I would like to draw everyone's attention to 16.2. That is significant to ACW. And there is a meeting that is noted on the 7th of June at Belmore Community Center from 9 till 12. Unfortunately, I'm committed to another conference at that time, and we should have a representative there from ACW. It is from June 7th from 9 to 12. Is there anyone that could attend this meeting on behalf of this council? Councillor Miltenberg, you could attend, or Councillor Hickey? Yo, a comment, please. We'll go with that first.
Thank you. I was going to bring this up to 16.2. I was talking to a local company owner in our township a few weeks ago about this. I was kind of surprised it came up on the agenda. And he is very concerned right now about the disposal of sewage. As of right now, prior to now, he was going into Ripley with his trucking if he could not get on the land. He has 2 sites approved in our township to dispose of. If for rain, snow, whatever reason, he was going to Ripley, he's been cut off from Ripley. So as of today, he only has those 2 properties in our township to dispose of, which is our responsibility to dispose of our own. So I was glad to see this was up here, and I was going to bring this up also. So I hope to attend that day, and those are my comments. Thank you.
So, okay, Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, Evan, if you could attend, that's also prime haying season. So if you can attend, let me know and then I would go. But if you're going, then I would decline. Thanks.
And so, okay, I think it's appropriate that we have one representative there, and Councillor Hickey has offered. CAO, do you have a comment, please?
Yeah, so we'll register Evan, but Brett Pollock, the chief building official, will be in attendance as well. So,
Which is great. So just before show of hands of councils in support of Councillor Hickey representing ACW at this event. Thank you for that, Councillor Hickey. And this has been an ongoing issue, and you're correct, Evan, in everything you said, that this individual that business that does this in ACW has land available from May to October. However, outside of those months, he has been going to Ripley, and everything seemed to be going well. And I concur. He called me one day and said there's a problem, and I've been in contact with the HK and the mayor of HK on this, and so to attend this meeting, it's something that needs to be dealt with. Figure it out. Absolutely. So thank you for that. Councillor Forrester and then Miltenberg, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. So like we had C&B portable toilets in for a wedding, and he says he takes mainly to Listowel. So you could let him know apparently they take from anywhere. So because they have lots of capacity there.
That's really good news. Councillor Miltenberg, an additional comment before I go to a different item. Okay, Brett, do you have any comment on that, please?
Yeah, I just like to add that council has approved a growth and servicing master plan. This scenario was kind of recognized quite some time ago. It just takes time, and part of this growth and servicing master plan that council did approve will look at this exact situation and come up with a long-term solution, whether that and explore all the options that on possible solutions to make the private servicing viable for the foreseeable future. So just so council is aware anyways that they did approve this. It is slowly working its way through, but it's coming.
Thank you very much for that. You have an additional comment, Councillor Miltenberg, please?
On item 16.1, actually,
Okay.
that's okay. The
Please.
AMO delegation request, I am going to AMO, and my suggestion would be that we put in the same request that we did for, I think it was Roma, short-term rentals and the aggregates. Again, we might as well keep trying, right? We were heard about the aggregate. Well, I don't know if we were heard, but we did get to speak. But there's no harm, I think, trying again, and we were declined for the short-term rentals. And I think that they're both valid. So if council would support that, I'd be willing to speak to them if the ministers will allow.
So you're asking staff to put in the request for two delegations. One is for short-term rentals and the other aggregate.
Just to
Clerk,
confirm, we'll
please.
put through the same delegation request that we did put in before.
I would think so. If you think that there's something we could add to the aggregate in case they say, didn't we just talk about that? I don't know. We can have a look at that. We haven't looked at it since January, so. But yeah, something very similar, but just to get the ear again.
Okay, we're good with that.
Yep.
Show of hands if council's in support of staff doing this. And thank you very much. And that's supported to move forward. Good to that, staff? Okay, thank you. Anything else to discuss on correspondence? Not, I'd like to move to 17.1, and that is the AMO conference that Councillor Miltenberg will be attending. I'll also be attending that on behalf of the county. And that would move us into our bylaws, and the first being 18.1. Is it okay to go around the room with everyone? And that would be moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Hickey. The leave be given to introduce bylaw number 32-2024, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement between 24-80678 Ontario Limited and the Township of ACW, and then it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 21st day of May, 2021. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. I thank you. 18.2 is the Enbridge Gas Franchise Agreement, moved by Councillor Miltenberg, seconded by Councillor Forrester, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 33-2024, being a bylaw to authorize a franchise agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh and Enbridge Gas Inc., and then it now be read severally a first and second time, and note provisionally adopted this 21st day of May, 2024. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. We do have a closed session today. And so it would be moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council move into a closed session in accordance with section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets B of the Municipal Act, with the CAO and clerk remaining in attendance at 9:22 a.m. for the purpose of discussing personal matters about identifiable individuals, the Colborne Cemetery, and personal matters about an identifiable individual. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. I thank you very much. We will give our clerk and staff time to secure the meeting, and thank you very much to everyone for your attendance this morning. Good. So we are now back in open session. I will ask our clerk to report out of her closed session, please.
There is nothing to report.
Thank you very much. The confirmatory bylaw would be moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 34-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh meeting held on May 21st, 2024, and then it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 21st day of May, 2024. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. And a motion to adjourn by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on June 4th, 2024 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of this motion? And that again is carried. Thank you very much to all for your thoughtful comments, and the meeting is now adjourned. You can enjoy the rest of the meeting.